You can't sell a house you don't own. You can't sell a car you don't own. But you can sell a stock you don't own. I'm Connor Byer, and that was a quote by CEO and founder of Tesla, Elon Musk. And what he's talking about there is called shorting. I think shorting is the newest societal problem that we need to be fixed. I think shorting is unnecessary to U.S. markets currently and could lead to a negative economy in the future. Why I think it's so important also is because I think it could potentially lead to the next economic crash. I myself am a GameStop investor, which is a company that has been heavily shorted and affected by shorting in many ways. So I know a lot about how shorting works and a lot about the market. So what I'm going to be talking about is the implications and how shorting works, the abuse of hedge funds and market makers with shorting, and if we really even need shorting for our U.S. markets. First, I'd like to raise a question. Do you think it'd be ethical to make profit off the failures of the businesses in our economy? Well, that's exactly what shorting does. When you are doing shorting, you are trying to sell a company. You're borrowing the shares of a company and selling it when it's high and buying it when it's low, which in essence, you're betting that the company is going to go down. The definition of short selling by Investopedia.com is explained as a position that is opened by borrowing shares of a stock or other asset the investor believes will decrease in value. The investor then sells these borrowed shares to buyers willing to pay the market price. Before the borrowed shares must be returned, the trader is betting that the price will continue to decline and they can be purchased at a lower price. The risk of loss in a short sale is theoretically unlimited since the price of any asset can climb to infinity. So, shorting. You borrow shares from your broker. You trade the shares at market price. You then wait for the stock to drop and repurchase the shares. Afterwards, you return the shares to your broker and pocket the difference. That's in essence what shorting is. You're betting on the downfall of a company. And why is shorting so bad? Well, shorting directly affects the downward price momentum of a stock. So if your company's stock is already falling and someone starts shorting it, that stock's going to go even lower. The problem here is not with me or you shorting. As in a study in an article by Retail Short Selling and Stock Prices by Eric K. Kelly, he found that retail shorting is a scant portion, about 1.5% of all short sales in their sample. So this is not about me or you shorting any company, but about hedge funds and market makers. Now, a market maker from Investopedia.com is a firm or individual who actively quotes two-sided markets in a security providing bid and offers, along with the market size of each. Which basically means, let's say I'm buying a share, I would probably buy and the market maker would be the one selling to me. So whenever you're buying, it's the market maker selling back to you. And that's to improve liquidity and the smoothness of the market. These market makers, though, are able to short companies with millions or billions of dollars, which directly affects the company and moves it down 10 to 20% by themselves. And also what these market makers like to do is what's called naked shorting. Naked shorting is shorting, but instead of borrowing the share, you just take the buyer's money. So you take the buyer's money and you create what's called a counterfeit share, because what they bought was really nothing, but it created what's called a counterfeit share. These counterfeit shares increase the supply of a stock, while in essence, you're decreasing demand as you're telling everyone, hey, I want to get rid of this. That in turn all leads to the price drop of stock. So, as you can see here, for benefits of naked shorting, why this is allowed for market makers is that it brings liquidity, it reduces time and effort, and it checks the cost of borrowing. Those are why market makers are allowed this. However, it leads to market manipulation and failure to deliver, which is the counterfeit shares waiting to be dispelled and have the real share take over. This is a heavy problem for many reasons. First off, these hedge funds and market makers are looking to bankrupt businesses with these practices, as when they bankrupt a business after naked shorting it, they keep all the money they sold the stock for. That is exactly what happened with GameStop and what is now called their short squeeze, where they tried shorting GameStop until it went bankrupt, but instead people decided to hold their shares and not sell them. So now what's happening is that these market makers and hedge funds are going to have to buy back the shares at whatever price the GameStop holders want. This, in essence, could lead to the next financial crash, as it's whatever cost the investors want to sell back to the market makers, which could be unlimited, as is the risk of short selling. Now, what should we do about shorting? Well, I think we could entirely get rid of it for one reason, and that's because we have many alternatives. So if you wanted to bet on the downside of a stock, you could buy put options, sell call options, or you could buy futures. Now, all three of these you're able to bet on the downward price momentum of a stock and not directly affect it. So, now, there's two things we could do. You could get rid of shorting entirely, or you could regulate it. Either one of those works. As long as there's regulation and more information flowing smoothly about it, the markets can be fair and healthier. So in conclusion, I think shorting has gone unregulated for too long, and that shorting bets on the downfall of stock, which is un-American and is abused by hedge funds and market makers. We have no need for short selling in our current markets. Why should we let these risks come at play when we have no need for it and it's only abused by the people on Wall Street? I think we need to put an end to this, and we should put an end to it now. My source for this speech were Why You Should Never Short a Stock by Investopedia.com. A short squeeze could save GameStop investors a third time by Forbes.com. An article by the library.columbiastate.edu. An article called Should Shorting Stocks Be Illegal by Morningstar.com. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day.